Chapter 5. The moral of this story is a future world champion has to sometimes teach his own mother how to dream. I changed my mind. If I had all the money in the world and I bought a time machine, I would rewind back to the faraway past, back to when Carl Lewis was my age, when he was a future world champion, back to when he first met Dudley. I would watch him practice, watch how he trained, how he sprinted, see if he had any friends with him on the track, any DeAndres or Bernards, any Tories, see how his coaches were. My father told me Carl's parents coached him in the early parts of his career. I would love to see if Carl's dad was always there on the track or if he was gone sometimes because of work trips, or if his mother was always there or if she had to split time between helping Carl open his stride and a job. But not just any job, a weird job, like making phone calls all day, like my mom. But I don't have all that money, so I don't have that time machine, which means I couldn't know what Carl did to get ready for Mr. Anderson, which meant I had no idea how I would get ready for him, which meant, oh, Ma wasn't home when I got there, so I ain't even bothered washing up. Just kicked my shoes off at the door, put a TV dinner in the microwave, popped my Back to the Future tape in the VCR, and plopped down on the couch. Favorite movies are good for a lot of reasons. The first is they're good, which is a good enough reason for them to be favorites. The second is they're good at taking your mind away from whatever your mind is on, which I guess makes movies the ultimate time machines. One minute you could be worried about what might be the biggest practice of your life, and the next minute you could be asleep and not even know it until your mother wakes you up. And if your mother's like my mother, she does it by pinching your lip. Wash your butt and go to bed, Ma said, chuckling as I startled awake. She sat beside me on the couch with a big bowl of cornflakes and a napkin. She always ate cereal for dinner whenever she ain't feel like cooking, which was most of the time because my father was the cook of the family. So when he was gone, the meals went from home cooked to home poured. She set the bowl on the coffee table, touched the napkin to her tongue before scrubbing the lipstick off her lips. The lipstick she put on every morning along with that powder stuff, and the pencil she used to outline everything like I used to do in my coloring books when I was little. Hi, Ma, I groaned. When you get here? A little while ago, she said, setting the gunked up napkin ball on the coffee table. The newspaper was folded beside her. She opened it, spread it wide on her lap. Had Gordon with me, but I told him to go on home. Once I heard you snoring from the hallway. Where you seeing Goose at? Where you think I saw him? Outside with that brother of his, she said, flipping the newspaper to the next page. I stopped at Miss Charles to get some cereal, and a few of them fools were hollering orders to him from across the street. Get me some juice. Get me some candy. Get that girl's number for me. You know how they are. And poor Gordon was trying to get it all done out there counting money to make sure they'd given him enough. This sounded right. The Clippers. That's what Glass Manor's biggest gang was called, though they hated to be called a gang. They saw themselves as a crew, an organization, a brotherhood, but they moved like a gang. Matter of fact, the rumor is that they call themselves the Clippers because they all carry around those bush scissors, the kind people clip hedges with, in case anybody got something to say about their business and needed to be pruned. That business, by the way, is selling drugs. What kind of drugs? The kind that turned Mr. Ralston into a walking twig, the kind that turned Miss Angeline into a toothless beggar, the kind that made Chris Dunlap lose his apartment, sell his car and all his clothes. He be standing outside in his underwear begging for $1 so he can buy $1's worth. So, the worst kind. But for me and Tori and a whole lot of us around here, it was hard to even think about all that because the Clippers were so fly. They had everything. clothes, girls, shoes, jewelry, haircuts. When they were on the corner was crispy for sure, and my other best friend Goose just happened to be the youngest among them. But to be clear, he wasn't selling drugs with them. He was just a store boy running back and forth across the street for snacks and sandwiches. Look at this. Ma picked up the paper, pointed to an article. If it ain't some scary new disease, it's this mess. Innocent kid killed over sneakers. Over sneakers, Odie. She snapped the paper shut, folded it in half, and slapped it on the table. That ain't got nothing to do with Goose and them, though, I said. I hadn't heard about whoever had been shot, but I'd heard other stories. Stories about kids getting sent to heaven over sneakers, but the Clippers weren't known for being killers, at least not like that. Maybe not, but I just don't know what to make of this neighborhood anymore. The junkies ain't got nothing better to do but find junk, and them knuckleheads don't got nothing better to do but flash their little cash and show off their fancy cars while the community eats itself alive. I was used to her sounding like this, disappointed about what was happening outside our window. Anyway, I told Gordon I needed help carrying my bag. Nelson, or poor baby, whatever they call him, looked at me from across the street all sideways because he could see I ain't have nothing but one box of cereal. But he told Gordon to be a gentleman anyway. She shoveled some in her mouth, chewed twice, swallowed. Whole way here I was telling Gordon to be careful around them boys. I know poor baby is his brother, but he the worst one. Ma shook her head. Oh, I also mentioned the track team to him again, told him he could be a different kind of runner. He not doing it, I said, yawning. She shook her head again and had another spoonful of the now soggy cereal. Go back to sleep. I'm not tired, I replied, finally sitting up. Okay, but you were already sleeping, so that's weird. She laughed to herself, held the bowl closer to her face for the next big scoop. Milk dribbled from a corner of her mouth, which she wiped with the back of her hand like a kid, like me. Well, the only reason I really went to sleep is so I could dream, not because I was sleepy, I explained. Ma nodded. You know, I get that. There are days when I want to go to sleep just to dream too. Yeah? Yep. And what would you dream about? I asked, weaving my fingers behind my head. She hummed. I'm not sure you get to pick your dreams. Of course you can, I said. All you gotta do is look at the thing you want to carry into your dream life, and if you look hard enough, it gets in your brain. And then when you close your eyes, your brain opens up and turns on like a TV. Only thing is, you on the inside of the show. As a matter of fact, you are the show and you acting out your dreams in your dreams, I explained. Okay, she said with her impressed face, which is the same as her scared face but with a nod. But what if you don't have nothing good to look at? I mean, there's good stuff everywhere, but what if the good stuff you want to dream about ain't nowhere? Or at least you've never seen it. How do you dream then? She asked. You just tell me what you want to dream about and then I can make it happen for you. I can draw it or something like that, I offered. That's so sweet, Ma cooed, and I hated when she did that because usually when she said that I was doing something sweet, it was because she was going to follow it up with turning down whatever sweet thing I was offering her. It's basically like a soft no. But you don't need to worry about my dreams. What I want to know is what you were dreaming about when I came home, especially since you weren't sleepy. Oh, I was with Marty, I said, pointing to the TV. The credits were rolling. Okay, and what were you and Marty doing? She asked. She already knew which Marty I was talking about, especially since there was no one else named Marty in my life, and definitely no one with the last name McFly. Well, he had hopped in the DeLorean and went to the Olympics. but not the ones coming up, but the Olympics in like the year 2000. The year 2000. She turned the bowl of cereal milk up to her mouth, guzzled it down. Yep, the future. And I was running in it. Lane 5. Everyone was chanting my name. C.L. McFly. C.L. McFly. Wait, my mother said. Your name's Otis, Odie. Yep, so? So then why were they calling you C.L.M. Mc... Oh, because of... And then I looked to my left, and guess who was holding the starter pistol? Carl Lewis, I sang out. My mother grabbed the partition tray my dinner had come in and walked to the kitchen to trash it and put her bowl in the sink, but I continued on with the dream. But he said his name wasn't Carl Lewis. Okay, so he wasn't Carl Lewis. He had Carl Lewis's face. Right. But he introduced himself as Dudley Anderson, I said, followed by, and guess what he said to me? I waited for Ma to answer, but instead I heard the faucet run. Ma, guess what he said? I asked louder. She cut the water, came back in the living room, sipped from a glass of water. What did he say, son? Deadpan. Nice eyebrows. Not nice eyebrows. She took another sip. Yeah, then he bounced his like this. I bounced my invisible brows, and my mother tried so hard not to swallow the water before laughing that she choked, hacked some of the water out, coughed like the cornflakes might have been coming next. Ma, I yelped, hopping up, wiping the bit that got on me. A spit sprain must run in the family. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, baby. She dashed to the kitchen to get me a paper towel. When she returned, I was already using my shirt. It's just, you don't, well, let me ask you this. She searched for words, changing directions. Did you actually have eyebrows in the dreams? I did, I said, but my head was still bald. Gotcha, she replied. Last question. Did you win? Right when the gun went off, you woke me up. I made a face like she blew it. Well, C.L. McFly, now that you're awake and not sleepy, you want to rewind the movie? Of course, I said, and then it hit me. I hadn't told her the big news, the thing that had me all worked up, which was why I popped in Back to the Future in the first place. Oh, wait, I added as she leaned over the VCR. I meant to tell you the big news. What big news? She asked. The biggest news of all news. Dudley Anderson is coming to practice tomorrow. I thought you said that was Carl Lewis's name in your... No. I mean, yes, but the reason that name was even in my dream is because that's the name of the man that discovered Carl Lewis when he was young. He's coming to the track to scout for the Junior Olympics. Coach told us today. Are you serious? She cut her eyes at me as the video rewound. I'm serious, I said. For real? For real. Your father ain't tell me that. Probably because he ain't want you to tell me. What? I ain't no snitch, she said, before asking with the straightest face ever. Would you be mad if I came? You know, to cheer you on? Ma, please don't come. She instantly started laughing. Okay, sheesh. She squeezed my knee. I'm so happy you get to really show what you're made of. Ma turned back to the VCR, pushed play, and I was asleep before the title came on the screen. A dream waiting for me. 6. The moral of the story is, Every future world champion needs a world champion name and a safe place to keep all the world champion stuff, and a mother who might be a secret agent, and a teacher who might be a secret athlete. My mother always says dope don't take no days off, and that's why the Clippers be outside even in the morning, and the ones that worked the early shift always seemed more chill, even be offering us breakfast on our way to school. I always say no, Tori always says yes. Candy and country store coffee, usually paid for by a freckled guy named Mario. He's the Clipper without a sharp edge. He don't even look like no dope boy, but got these big old ears, a flappy pair that look like giant butterfly wings, and got a gap between his teeth that be turning his words into whistles. Ain't have no business being on street time, because he had actual business to tend to. He's a barber, uses real clippers to cut hair, even though my mother won't let him use them on me, even though we always see him at church with his mother, Miss Larita, and he always calls anybody he thinks is older than him ma'am or sir out of respect, like we live in the middle of some country town. Glass Manor ain't no ma'am kind of place, no sir kind of place either, but sometimes in the mornings, because of Mario, it could feel like that. Me and Tori moseyed on past the store. It's your go. Tell me yours again, said Tori. Just go. I will, but first I need to hear yours one more time. I just told you mine. I know, but I need to make sure I heard you right. We stopped at the corner, double dutched from the curb to the street to the curb, flirting with the idea of crossing before the light changed. A game of dodge car got a way of getting the blood pumping in the morning. If I could pick my own name for the Olympics, I grabbed Tori's arm mid-sentence to keep him from getting squashed by a motorcycle he ain't see coming. A new name that everyone would know me as. I'm going with C.L. McFly. That's what I thought you said. Tori slurped the splash of spilled coffee off the side of his hand. Where you even got that from? From a dream I had last night. I was on the starting line about to race in the Olympics, and when my name was announced, they called me C.L. McFly. The light changed. Now, what's your answer? Any name? Whatever name you want. Then probably Charlie Brown. Tori flashed me his goofy grin, which was more normal for him because he had a grinny face, the kind of face that looked like it was supposed to be halfway smiling all the time, skinny but squirrely, like he was storing acorns in his cheeks or Skittles. You only saying that because I still can't believe you did it. I shook my head. The it I was talking about was Tori shaving his head and eyebrows. He was now a baldy too, a grinny-faced one, without the forehead wound. When he met me at my building to walk to school like usual, I looked right past him because I ain't recognize him with his ponytail gone, because he ain't look like usual. Instead, he looked like unusual, making us an unusual duo. Nah, I just really like the name Charlie Brown, he insisted. But that's what you going with for your Olympic name? Wow, I know you was gonna be so stuck up about it. Be serious, Tori. Skittles? He held the bag out toward me. Dude. Okay, let me think. He took the candy back, turned the bag up into his mouth, chomped and chomped before washing it down with the no longer hot coffee. As we walked up the avenue towards school, a woman with a dog on a leash passed us. She growled good morning, her voice all rasp and phlegm. Good morning, I said back. Morning, Tori echoed between chew and swallow, then turned back to our conversation, clicking his tongue to the roof of his mouth, prying the stuck candy loose. I think I kind of like the dog. I know you like dogs, I replied, not catching what he was saying. I still remember that angry poodle y'all had. Chaka wasn't angry, he countered, defending what I knew had been an angry mutt. Looked like a toy, but would bite your fingers off if you tried to play with it. Tori tossed the now empty coffee cup in the trash. But that's not what I'm talking about, he went on. I'm saying, what if my Olympic name was the dog? He fanned his hands out as if imagining his name in lights. Oh, just the dog? Just the dog. I have learned that sometimes answers call for my questions, and other times they don't. And in this case, there was no point in asking Tori why he landed on that name. Plus, we were coming up on the school, and I had other things to worry about, like how I'd been faking the whole walk, how I'd been pretending like I was feeling fine even though I wasn't. My body felt like it was mad at me, like there was wood in my muscles, making them stiff, and that wood was on fire, every bendable bit burning, knees, elbows, neck, back, ankles. Even my toes had become matchbooks. Turns out, me trying to prove myself yesterday at practice, trying to prove my bald head and face made me faster to cut down on drag, it still ended up being a drag. And this was bad, bad, bad news because Dudley Anderson was coming to scout us. But now, but how was I supposed to run fast when my legs felt like logs? Which brought me to the other thing I was thinking about, time. There was a part of me that hoped it moved slow enough for my legs to become my legs again, but another part of me hoped time flew, hoped the minutes would sprout wings or maybe grow turbo boosters and zip by with a quickness, hoped morning would sprint toward afternoon like it had a race to win, or like it was being chased, or like it was late for something. But hope is just hope, like dreams just be dreams. They don't always come true. Sometimes they do, but not always. And not in a school because time was acting hopeless, acting like it was sad, making me sad and antsy and annoyed by the slow tick and the even slower talk. Seriously, why can't school be exciting? Like, why can't it be more like the Olympics? Or maybe it is like the Olympics and I just can't tell. Maybe for some people, making on roll is like winning a gold medal. But if that's true, it ain't no gold medal worth having because it ain't even really gold. It's just paper. It won't last forever and you can't even wear it. They just give it to you in a folder and then you give it to your mom and she puts it away and you never see it again. At least that's how it goes in my house, locked in a safe with all the other special stuff. This ain't no regular safe I'm talking about. It's more like a cabinet with a lock on it. But not with a key lock. It got the tourney kind. And in it, Ma put the certificate from the one time I made the on roll. I'm always close, along with every good pair of shoes I've ever had, the gold chain my dad bought me when I was born, the Walkman I never listened to, and even my Nintendo, which I never played because I don't want to have to do all the work of hooking it up to the television just to put it back after every turn. My mother says it's special because she paid good money for it and it came all the way from Japan, so it feels like it should be protected. That's how she felt about most things in that safe cabinet. Gotta protect the good stuff. From who? No clue. I guess whenever I win my gold medal, my real gold medal, it'll also go in there for safekeeping. But if that happens, she gotta tell me the combination on the tourney thingy to get it open because I definitely gotta put it on every single day for the rest of my life. Gotta rock it like a rope chain and pop by the barber shop because I'll be grown by then and the medal will get me free haircuts. Then after that, I'm wearing it down to the park so all the future world champions can see what a world champion looks like. Fresh fade and all. I'm wearing that hunk of gold everywhere but to sleep, which is when it'll go back in the safe. but only until I wake up and put it around my neck again. Before brushing my teeth, before taking a shower, before putting on my clothes. All this means is that at some point I'm gonna need the combination to that lock. I've asked Ma for it, but she ignores me every time I do, which makes me think there's other stuff in there. Not just special stuff, but secret stuff too. Stuff she don't want me to get my hands on. Like maybe weapons. I don't know for sure, but maybe there's knives and brass knuckles and nunchucks and throwing stars and nail bats in there. It's stuff we might need whenever Dad is away. Wouldn't surprise me if my mother was some kind of assassin or hero with a double life pretending to make calls when really she's out answering the call of justice. Maybe, maybe not, but maybe. And if that's true, that's way more exciting than whatever I was learning in school, which was so boring that my daydreams about what might be in that cabinet came from me staring up at the classroom clock. Because the clock looks just like a lock. And the lock looking clock was moving so slow it almost felt like it was ticking 1 minute forward, 2 minutes back. Then 3 minutes forward, 2 minutes back. Like a lock that refused to open, which meant there was a bell that refused to ring, a school day that refused to end. And what made it worse was that my last class of the day, math, was all about conversion units of time, which was basically the lesson about how many seconds are in an hour. The answer is obviously a zillion, and I figured we were nowhere close to time being up. If my teacher, Mr. Jefferson, ain't dropped the chalkboard eraser, and if it ain't bounced off his leg, leaving a white rectangle on his khakis, and if he ain't tried rubbing it off, his pen leg would have never left it, and I would have never noticed that things that would get me through his class. The shoes, the hint of gray on the black leather up at the top, the smidgen of red, most importantly the toe that was supposed to look like cracked cement, but really looked like some kind of animal skin. A snake or lizard or something. If Mr. Jefferson hadn't been so clumsy, my suffering through last class syndrome probably would have ended in me banging my head on the desk until the desk had a dent and my head had a knot, and the last thing I needed was an actual knuckle on my head. Especially since more than one person has already said it looked like a thumb. Luckily, I didn't have to headbang because I was distracted by beauty. Mr. Jefferson's feet, not his actual feet because that would be weird, but his sneakers. Mr. Jefferson was wearing masterpieces. If sneakers could be cars, these were better than Lamborghinis, better than Benzes. Mr. Jefferson had DeLoreans strapped around his ankles. I'm talking about the brand new Air Jordan 3s. I remember going to Everything Sports just to look at them through the window, and I'd seen some of the guys in the neighborhood wearing them, but I'd never seen them this close up. The air bubble on the side, that was really the thing that made them fresh, because it basically meant you could fly, that the shoes were designed for it, and once I caught a glimpse, no lie, time began to fly too. The bell rang, and as everybody shot for the door, I rose slowly from my desk, my body still stiff, and hung back to ask Mr. Jefferson the only askable question, the only thing that mattered after seeing those shoes. Mr. Jeff, do them shoes really make you feel like you can fly? I hiked my backpack onto my shoulder. Of course, he said, cleaning equations from the board. He said it like it was 0 plus 0, which in this case equaled 23. If I had these when I was hooping, I probably wouldn't be here teaching you math. I'd be on TV slamming on everybody. You can dunk? With these on? He lifted his pant leg again so I could see the whole shoe, the silhouette of Jordan on the tongue. What you think? The thing about Mr. Jefferson is that he wasn't tall. Maybe my dad's height, which meant not tall enough to dunk. On top of that, he taught math, which automatically disqualified him from being athletic. That's just science. I think no, I said. No? He couldn't believe I doubted him. I'm serious. I can dunk. But how? What you mean how? You never seen MJ before? Never seen how he jumps and hangs in the air like he floating? You know why he sticks his tongue out like that? Mr. Jefferson mimicked Michael Jordan, hand in the air, tongue out, which didn't look the same without a basketball in his hand. Just then, Tori came into the classroom looking for me and looking over his shoulder like someone was looking for him. He saw Mr. Jefferson and cocked his head. You aight, Mr. Jeff? Tori gave me 5. Oh, Tori, I didn't see you come in. He dropped his arm. I was just asking Otis if he knew why Jordan sticks his tongue out like that. So he can eat the air? Because the more air he eats, the higher he can go. He basically a human balloon, Tori said as if he'd been thinking about this for a while. Like this was the code he'd been trying to crack. What? I was confused. No, Mr. Jefferson said. So then why? And it better not have nothing to do with algebra, said Tori. Maybe not as much as Tori, but I also wondered why Jordan always dunked like that, tongue all out. I wouldn't do that if I was him, too scared something might fly in there like a bug, or that I might take a bad bite out of the rim, which gotta taste gross, like leather and paint and hand. It's so that he can breathe, Mr. Jefferson explained. When you jump as high as he does, you gotta breathe through your mouth because the air gets thin up there. That ain't why, I said, unbelieving. I didn't believe it either until I put on these shoes. Now Tori looked down at Mr. Jefferson's feet, and his eyeballs almost exploded. But now I know it's true. Just the other day, I jumped so high, I pretty much jumped into an asthma attack. You got asthma? I asked, only because he beat the erasers like chalk dust don't bother him. Nope, but that's how high I jumped. Mr. Jefferson grabbed his bag from behind his desk and shooed us toward the door. Now, out. I got a community meetup. We're sweeping up the neighborhood this afternoon. Whatting up what? Tori said. Sweeping up the neighborhood, and I gotta go home first. Change my shoes. So you not gonna dunk for us right quick? I asked. Mr. Jefferson goosed his neck. You think I'm here for your entertainment, Otis? Come on, Mr. Jeff. You always be telling us to show our work when we doing math. So you gotta show us yours because this ain't adding up. We need to see this with our own eyes, Tori pleaded. Then you can go sweep up the streets or whatever you do when you leave here, I joked. Mr. Jefferson glared at us, checked his watch, shook his head, then said, Y'all go on, and I'll meet y'all in the gym in a few minutes. He showed up at the school gym in his work clothes, them khakis that he'd rolled up and the t-shirt he'd been wearing under his button-up. He also brought a ball, shot a few short jumpers, missed one, made 2, passed the ball to me, and I passed it right back. I don't know nothing about basketball except how to watch it and root for Jordan. I don't know how to shoot or dribble or none of that. Didn't even want to play myself. Plus, right now, my body felt like it had been dunked on by Jordan himself. So I just threw the ball to Tori, hiding the pinch in my back. Tori dribbled in, out, in, out, in, out between his legs before pulling up from the foul line. It clanged on the back of the rim. I went for the rebound because I knew I could at least do that. I passed the ball back to him and Tori said, Why are you passing it to me? We came to see what Mr. Jefferson can do in those kicks. Tori tossed Mr. Jefferson the ball. He dribbled behind his back and forth, and I watched as the ball bounced just past the heel of his sneakers, but never touching them. Y'all really don't believe me? Mr. Jefferson looked appalled. I didn't believe him. Tori didn't either. But our not believing would only last about 45 more seconds before Mr. Jefferson took one more dribble, then jumped high enough to drop the ball in the rim. It wasn't even really a dunk, it was more like a placement. Just dropped it in there with no struggle. He placed the ball in the net with such ease that it almost looked like he just levitated up there. Blew my mind. Tori stood there with a hole in his face, still not believing this time what he'd just seen with his own eyes. And to really prove his point, Mr. Jefferson took a few steps back and drove to the basket and did a 360, jamming the ball so hard in the hoop we barely saw it go in. Me and Tori lost it, and after we finished running around the gym screaming, Mr. Jefferson waited at half court just to say, right when he knew we were going to go on about his Jordans, "Y'all saw that 360?" "Yeah," we both groaned. "Well, that's what I'm expecting to see from you two basketball heads in my class." "I know," said Tori, rubbing his scalp. Then he pointed at me. "But he in the 7th grade, so what he's learning is way easier than algebra." "Bet you it ain't," I shot back. "Bet you it is," Tori doubled down. "If that's true, then why you ain't do better when you took this class last year?" I teased. "I got a C, and I would have got a B if Mr. Schwartz ain't have us doing surgery on them frogs at the same time. Math and science? Too much." Everybody knew about Miss Schwartz's frog lesson, where she makes us cut open a frog and look at all its puzzle pieces. A real dead frog. We just getting started with all that. I'm nervous about it, and I might not do so good in science, but I'm still probably getting a B in math. "Then I'm gonna have to take it again to get an A," Tori riveted, one-upping me, which was definitely a Tori thing to do. He was competitive. We both were. Had to be the best at everything. And as we walked away, I stopped, turned back toward Mr. Jefferson, who'd been listening and laughing at us the whole time. "Wait, don't you mean a 180? Because a 360 would land us right back here," I said. Mr. Jefferson's laugh eased into a smile. "Very good," he said. You're learning. Tori Cunningham." A bigger voice stepped on Mr. Jefferson's deep and principle-ish. Tori looked behind him, then sucked his teeth as Mr. Flowers came stomping across the gym floor toward us. "Where are you supposed to be?" "In my skin," Tori muttered under his breath. "And where's your skin supposed to be? Since you're so smart," Mr. Flowers barked, still hard-stepping. Tori didn't say nothing at first, just looked at me and showed me the whites of his eyes, then sighed. "Where?" Tori grunted. "Detention," said Mr. Flowers. "What you do?" I whispered. Tori turned to walk away. "Just tell Coach I'm gonna be a little late to practice." "But what about Dudley Anderson?" I whispered, but Tori didn't respond. He just moped beside Mr. Flowers as I walked gingerly behind them out the door, the basketball and sneakers on the hardwood bouncing and squeaking goodbye and good luck to us both.